Alright, what's good guys, and welcome to this week's Thanksgiving edition of Liquid Wheel Wednesday. I'm trying to do it in the midst of cooking. Just waiting for the oven to preheat. So this is done now, so while we're warming this up, I'll do my best to get you guys your picks, and along with some hopefully helpful fantasy info as we approach the playoffs. Alright. So here we go. I left all of my slips at college, so I'm just going to do two wheels, one on the left, one on the right. Spin them both at the same time. For those of you who were here back in the day, this is what we used to do before Legend shut us down. And then we had to come back with an alternate way. But, you know, I don't care about that right now. I just want to get you guys your picks for this Thanksgiving break. Alright, so first off, we're going to get Reap and a live bet voucher. So congrats on that. I wonder if I have a notepad that I could write stuff on. So that way when I write the list, this is pretty easy. Alright. Alright, so pretty much looking into the playoffs, I want to talk about mainly some good fantasy pickups that you guys can get for the playoffs that could help you make a good push or be like a good supporting member with really good matchups that could be a real crucial part of your playoff push. So as you see here, TT0 going to get +3 juice. Alright, so I'm going to start off with quarterbacks for now. Right now, looking at quarterback matchups, I have 3 people in particular that pop out to me. First off, listen, I have to start off with him because he's my boy, but Bama +1 juice right there. But the first guy we have right here is Daniel Jones. Now, I know some people are like, you know, Daniel Jones, he's suffered from a lot of turnovers over the weeks, and although he's played very well, would he really be the guy that you want in the position to lead your team to a fantasy championship? Well, I've actually taken the risk on him in a lot of leagues by staying weak at the QB position and rolling with him, mainly because of his playoff matchups. If you look at his playoff matchups, he's playing in Week 15 the Miami Dolphins and in Week 16 the Washington Redskins. And there's Cerndog with +3. Alright, and so he's playing the Dolphins and the Redskins back-to-back, both with very porous defenses. And one thing that you've noticed is that both of Danny Dimes' best performances with 4 touchdowns have come against extremely weak defenses that he was able to exploit with his precision accuracy. So I think that this is going to be more of the same in these 2 games, and I think the Giants will not only come away with 2 big wins, but have massive production from both their QB spot, hopefully the running back spot, and along with the QB, their wide receiver spot. And there's Cheat Boys with +1 juice. Alright, so along with Daniel Jones, I also have Nick Foles as a solid option. Odds are he's still going to be the starter for the week, and he's going to be playing the Oakland Raiders and the Atlanta Falcons. Going along with that, that leaves you a quarterback who's going to have really good matchups over the course of those 2 weeks against 2 defenses who have extremely struggled against the past. And We President is going to have +3 juice. Alright. And last but not least on the quarterback list, another guy who I think will have very solid matchups that you can pick up for the playoffs is going to be Jimmy G. And here's Go Hogs with a live bet voucher. Now, if you look at Jimmy G's matchups, he's going to be playing Atlanta as well, just like Foles, and also the Rams. Now, a lot of people expected the Rams to be a lot better, especially with their acquisition of Jalen Ramsey, but the fact of the matter is that they've still extremely struggled, as you've seen in their past couple games, and this past week they got absolutely torched by Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, giving him close to 50 points, and they just looked awful throughout. And I think that's going to be something that the 49ers can exploit, especially with their defense clamping up on Jared Goff, holding him to turnovers, and giving the 49ers some great field position. And LBJ is going to get 0.5 MHC free bet. Alright, now moving on to running backs. Well, just to reiterate, a lot of these I'm focusing on players that you can possibly pick up off the waiver wire if they're still available. And here we have DPMX with a mulligan. Alright, so first up on the list that I have is Kareem Hunt. He should be taken in pretty much every league that you're in, but he has some very strong matchups from week 14 to 16, playing the Bengals, the Cardinals, and the Ravens in week 16. And he's a guy that's going to maybe not do as much in standard, but in PPR formats, he should be a great guy to give you solid production out of the flex spot and be a solid contributor, especially in those first 2 weeks. Now, the next guy here, as Pickle gets plus 0.5 spread juice, is going to be Kalen Ballage. Now, yes, he's on the Dolphins. Yes, the Dolphins suck. But the fact of the matter is his matchups against the Jets, the Giants, and the Bengals can't be ignored. I would skip the Jets because they've had a very strong run defense as of late. But the Giants and the Bengals have both been very weak against the run. And if you put him in there, he could get you a solid goal line carry or two that could help turn the tides if you need a solid production from the flex spot and you have weak matchups in other areas. And then, last but not least, as Fleece gets a prop parlay voucher, is a guy that I've been high on for a while, in Darius Geis. Geis, I really liked in the beginning of the year and tried to get him in as many leagues as possible, but his injury cut his season short. Now he's back, and he's with some prime matchups in the playoffs against Philly and the Giants in your championship week, especially the matchup against the Giants. He's going to be primed to get a lot of points, especially coming out of the backfield and receiving. And his dynamic play style and elusiveness could net him some very solid yards, especially in PPR formats. So I have him in a lot of my leagues. I'm not sure if I'll need to use him, but I'd rather have him on my bench than allow one of my opponents to have him. Alright, now we'll move on to wide receiver after this next one, which is Jordan F. And he's going to get a 0.5 MHC free bet. Alright, so next up is wide receivers. And once again, I have another 3 people who I am really high on this week. This first guy here definitely is not going to be on your waiver wire, but if you're considering putting him on your bench or starting him, he's definitely going to be a must-start over the playoffs, and that's Chark. Chark is playing against the Raiders and the Falcons, who have both extremely struggled against the pass. I mentioned Foles' matchup against these teams for a reason, and Chark is going to be just more of the same. He's going to be really successful at breaking loose on hopefully some long touchdowns, and even if he doesn't, he's going to attract a lot of targets from Foles, who recognizes his talent and has been feeding him as the season has progressed. Moving on, I've been surprised because I've seen this guy on quite a few waivers in multiple leagues, but as Boss pulls a live bet voucher, other guy is going to be Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin has matchups against the extremely porous Philadelphia Eagles defense and the Giants. And I keep hearing the Giants come up and I grimace, but from watching their games over and over again, I can attest to the fact that their defense has been extremely lackluster, and McLaurin should have no problem getting into open spaces and making quite a few good plays for you. And congrats, Ophi, on the +3 juice. Alright, and then the last spot, I have kind of 2-in-1 here. And this goes along with Garoppolo for the QB section. And that's going to be Deebo Samuel and Emmanuel Sanders. Both of these guys have very good matchups with matchups against the Falcons and the Rams. This just pretty much the same stuff I said for Jimmy Garoppolo and that they should be able to exploit their matchup, especially Deebo Samuel, who you could find on a lot of waiver wires, and who is a very big boomer bust pick. And Mr. NFL going to be getting 0.5 spread juice. Alright, also, I'd like to personally throw in the Giants wide receivers. Like I said with Daniel Jones, they have extremely good matchups against the Dolphins and the Redskins, which I think are the Giants. I think the Giants have the best playoff matchups in the league, so it definitely is something that you should take advantage of. And this is going to be Dolph with a plus 0.5. Oops, sorry, just a 0.5 MHC free bet. So just writing everything down. Alright, after this, I want to close this up by talking about the some good defenses that you can get. And once again, yes, I'm going to go back to them. The New York Giants, like I said, they have really great matchups against the Dolphins and Washington, who extremely struggle with turnovers. They're definitely a good team to go to. If you're in a league with me, you might notice that I've picked them up within the last week or two, because they have some pretty bad matchups right now, and so nobody's going to want them. But I do want to make sure that I get them before anyone else will come in and pick them up. Just because I like their matchup so much, I'll definitely start them, even over defenses like the Bears defense, who might not have as good of matchups. Jibo with 1 MHC free bet. Alright, hold on. Okay. Cookies are done, which is great. But another team that I like going into the playoffs are the Steelers defense. If you look at the Steelers defense, in 3-week playoff formats, they're against the Cardinals, the Bills, and the Jets. All teams that have been kind of iffy on offense. While the Arizona Cardinals have been very solid, especially with Kyler Murray under center, you could definitely take advantage of them going into those latter matchups, and they could be a good team to have and play if you have a defense with a less than stellar playoff matchup. And Aondis with a double dose parlay. Alright, and then the last defense that I have on my list are the Texans. Their 3-week playoff schedule is looking like the Denver Broncos, the Titans, and the Tampa Bay Bucks, as Nick gets an X+1 parlay. And, I mean, the Broncos, they've putting up, like, in the 10s or 20s in a lot of their games recently. Did he spin that, or did Mosey get that too? I'm just going to spin that just in case, I really don't know. Okay, +3 juice for Mosey. Yeah, and then the Titans, aside from Derrick Henry, have extremely struggled. And Tampa Bay, well, actually going back to the Titans, they have had pretty good games the past couple weeks, but I don't see why the Texans can't slow them down in what should be a slow-crawling divisional matchup. And go JoJo with a 1 MHC free bet. Alright. And the Buccaneers are the Buccaneers. They're going to get a decent amount of yards, but they're also going to get a lot of turnovers from Jameis, who's extremely turnover prone, probably one of the most turnover prone guys in the league. And that's going to net them a decent amount of points on their own there. So, yeah, that's who I have for guys that I'd like to have in the playoffs. Borask with a live bet voucher. And this will bring us to our last guy here, the Colts fan, who's going to end up with a mulligan to end it off. I'm pretty sure we gave one already, and we usually only give away one, but feeling extremely grateful for all of you guys each and every day at the Bet House. We'll give away another one here to Colts fan anyway. And that's going to be all for today. So good luck in your fantasy playoffs. Good luck with your bets, and wish you all the best.
Go Giants.
Go Giants.